Hello and good evening and welcome to our evening wrap-up show. I'm standing at the base of the magnificent Hochkönig mountain just behind me, and the last 2 hours have been some of the most extraordinary moments that I've ever witnessed in 10 years of following the Red Bull X-Alps. We're used to Kriegel making a magic move of an evening. This evening we had at one point 11, 12, 13, 15 athletes all doing final glides, thermaling into the sunset. It was absolutely magnificent to see. At 8:15, the whole gaggle flew over my head, and in amongst this group you've got some of the best athletes in Red Bull X-Alps history: Kriegel Maurer, Max Pinot, these rookies, Damien Lacaze, he's not a rookie, but there was a lot of French. There was Tim Alongi, also American athlete we haven't seen, with apologies to Gavin McClurg, who's probably watching. We don't often see an American athlete right up with this lead gaggle, and that's Logan Walters. And it's been really exciting to see this flying. Of course, quite a lot happened today. It's been a long day, day one of the Red Bull X-Alps. When I spoke to Damien Lacaze, he said, the last hour, actually, I will say this, he said it was like it was no longer a competition. It was just a magic moment. And that magic moment, I must say, really belongs to Paul Takats, because he was, even when everyone came landing and everyone was landing together, we were driving along and we're just watching everyone land, Paul Takats was still flying. And I spoke to Max Pinot, who had a huge smile on his face. You don't always see a huge smile on Max's face. And he said, Paul, he kicked our asses today. And then we carried on driving a bit when we were just north of Saalfelden, and I saw there was another person flying, and it was Marcus Anders from Germany, homing in on his home territory. So it's really been an extraordinary last couple of hours, and it's been an extraordinary day. And to tell us more about that, I spoke earlier to Gavin McClurg to give a kind of wrap-up of day one of the 2023 Red Bull X-Alps. Enjoy. What an opening day to the Red Bull X-Alps. Gavin, have you ever known a start like it?
That was pretty outrageous, Tarquin. The beauty of the Hahnenkamm and the cheering and the people and the music and then the flying was outrageous. 2015, we went a long ways the first day. This one was tougher. The flying was much more technical. There was quite a bit of overdevelopment and stuff on the course, but I think at one point, about 10K in, I counted 26 people in the same gaggle, the same thermal, and everybody was hooping and hollering, and it was just a blast. What a perfect start.
I mean, and even right at the beginning, the start in Kitzbühel itself, I mean, it was so many people there. It was just such an electric atmosphere.
It really was. Just to be looking down at the strife and the history of the Hahnenkamm and imagining the skiers hitting 60 miles an hour faster than the fastest car on earth. It's an amazing place. The sun popped just at the right time. When we first got up there, I thought, I don't know if today's going to work at all, but we got just enough sun as we did most of the day. Like I said, the flying was tricky. It was really tricky today. And to see Paul just jump off that ridge where we were all barely holding on to it. It was quite windy, and he just peeled off the back, and I thought he was going to land, and he hooked into a good one, and look where he is now. So really exciting day of racing.
Well, I think he thought he was going to land as well. This is really a day that belongs to Paul Takats. It's like a breakaway in the Tour de France. He just went for it. He took that gamble. He didn't know if it was going to work out or if it was just going to be a sled ride to the bottom of the valley. But he made it work, and I suppose that shows tremendous skill on his part to just forge ahead and stay ahead of the gaggle.
He's really tuned up right now. He just did really well at the Worlds 2 weeks ago. He had his best World Cup before that down in Brazil in March. And I think he's just got that confidence. This isn't his first foray into this. This is his third X-Alps. He did it in 2009. He did it again in 2017, and he was really rolling in that one until he hit airspace. So, his skills just keep getting better and better, especially as a cross-country pilot. And his history in acro gives him the ability to deal with days like like today, with as a lot of pilots can't. It was pretty wild out there. It was pretty windy in a lot of spots, really windy in some spots. It really depended on where you were on the course, but for him, that's probably just a non-event, and he was able to couple all his skills together. There's 1,200K to go, but he was able to really crush some mileage today and make great position and great time to grind. And he's still got some time tonight to make some more distance.
And Gavin, also there was at the beginning of the day there was a big fear that it was going to overdevelop. That there was the possibility of thunderstorms. I believe you also got rained on.
Yeah, I got rained on actually really hard, and my glider went parachutal a couple times because it was really wet, and I was having to fly full bar just to keep the glider inflated. So it really depended on where you were in the course. I was watching the radar in the sky, and I happened to be in a pretty bad spot. I was alone at that point coming down to record this show. So, but other places looked okay. It threatened real hard right from the start, and for the most part, I think it was all right. I'm sure many pilots got at least a little wet today, but for the most part, it was okay. The main issue today was the wind, the northeast wind at middle and lower levels, which all of us were at many times. When you're at cloud base, when you're up tall, it was okay. We never got that tall, but when we were up touching the clouds, it wasn't too bad. But when you were down in the terrain, the northeast was pretty vicious.
And Gavin, for someone who doesn't fly, how big a deal is flying in the rain? I mean, you say it's not that big a difference for athletes of your caliber of experience, but it obviously changes the massive, the dynamics of flight. You mentioned it, your wing went parachutal. What do you mean by that? It's literally like falling out the sky?
Yeah, so what happens when you get in a lot of rain? Light rain is not much of a problem, but we shouldn't fly in rain, and none of us like to fly in rain, but sometimes, especially in the X-Alps, it's just inevitable. What I mean by going parachutal is when you have a lot of rain, it can weigh so heavily on the top surface of your glider. Gliders have a top surface and a bottom surface that the top surface can literally kind of glue on to the bottom surface, and you lose the airfoil. You lose the airflow between the two surfaces, and your wing basically becomes a parachute, and it just starts coming down. So what you have to do when you're flying in the rain is use what we call our speed bar, which changes the aspect of the wing and accelerates it up. And sometimes you have to stay on speed bar all the way to the ground, but mostly it's just that your wing becomes quite unstable, and it is more difficult to keep inflated. And so when you're trying to thermal or using the brake, your stall speed is much easier to hit. So it's not a very comfortable place to be. All X-Alps athletes are used to it, but none of us like to fly in the rain.
Great, thank you. Good explainer, Gavin. For those who perhaps some people are not so familiar with all the terms of the nuances of how difficult it is up there and the kind of things that you have to manage. Now, we mentioned that this is a day that belonged to Pal Takats. He took a big gamble. It paid off. A couple of other athletes took a gamble, including Andrei Prohaska from Czech Republic. For him, it didn't work out. He tried to go south. He took a southerly line down to the Pinzgau Valley and landed out, and he back on his foot. Gavin, I suppose that's just part of the game. Sometimes these gambles work, sometimes they don't.
And I feel for Andre because that was the same move I made late in the flight. The Pinzgau was quite sunny, and the route that the leading pack was on was really quite dark. And so, sometimes you have to make these calls, and I'm sure he was thinking, as I was, that was a pretty good call. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And so now, unfortunately, he has to pay the price. But I think the day was also defined by amazing ability by pretty much all the athletes in the, today was really tricky. Recreational pilots would not have made it very far. And to see so many people already in Wagrain and just a few behind that will get in very shortly is testament to the ability and the skill of the pilots this year in this Red Bull X-Alps.
You're absolutely right there, Gavin. I mean, it was extraordinary scenes here in Wagrain, Kleinau. They were just landing thick and fast. I mean, no time separation at all. Pal first, Maxime Pinault, and then Patrick von Kernel from Switzerland. But then the other French athletes, you had Tanguy Renaud, Tim Alongi also landed not shortly afterwards. Sepiniger and Reto Reiser. I mean, they're all together. Oh, and the other thing I was going to ask you to mention is the American athlete, Logan Walters. He was also among that sort of leading group.
Yeah, he's had a screamer every day.
He kind of said to me that he was just following the leaders and just hung with the gaggle.
Yeah, and he made. We were all together leaving the Hahnenkamm, and maybe 15 kilometers into the course, the gaggle. This was before Pal's breakaway, and Logan was quite low. He was in a pretty tight spot, and to see him get out of there and hook back into the leaders and get all the way to a grind, it was 70K of hard flying, and how tight is everybody now? That's awesome. After really almost the first full day, we've got everybody within a few K of one another. So that's super exciting. And there's some time left, and there's already a big split from what grind. There's the French and Logan and the US team. They've taken a very different line than what Pal and the Austrians and several other and the Italians have. So we're going to see some strategy differences here that could really pay off or hurt.
And it's only day one, so
it's only day one.
We'll leave it there, Gavin. Everything to still play for, and let's see what happens by the end of today.
Yeah, what an exciting first day! I can't wait to watch the rest.
So it may be 9:15, but the race is still very much on. Just while recording this show, I've seen Sepp Iniger, Tom de Dorlado and Kriegel all run past, and there is potentially up till 11 o'clock they can keep going. But let's have a look at the leaderboard. This was as of 7 p.m, so it's probably already been changed since then. But as of 7 p.m, in 10th place was the French athlete Tim Alongi, competing for the first time. Sepp Iniger, who I saw run past just earlier. Tom de Dorlado, again, who I saw run past a minute ago. Reto Reiser was in 7th place. Tobias Gross-Rabacha, also saw him just now in 6th. Patrick von Kennel in 5th place, Aaron Duragati in 4th, and 3rd place, Kriegel Maurer. Currently in 2nd is Pal Takats, with Marcus Anders out currently leading the charge. And that'll be interesting because that was the same 2 years ago when Marcus Anders was first into Chiemgau Achental. So let's see, he'll be wanting to be into that turn point 3 first. This is his area, he knows it like no one else. So everything's still to play for. I hope you've enjoyed this show. Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Me and Gavin, I'll be live from 8:30 on Facebook. Gavin an hour later, and then again during the day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.